There is a moment, quiet and unspoken, that arrives just before achievement. It comes not as excitement, but as a sudden stillness. The promotion letter sits unopened. The acceptance email remains unanswered. The final draft of the novel gathers digital dust. In this suspended space between effort and reward, something curious happens. We hesitate, not from lack of desire, but from something more complex. From fear, but not the fear we expect, not fear of failure, which we understand and prepare for. This is fear of success, the paradoxical terror of getting exactly what we want. Consider the artist who stops painting when galleries start calling, the student who underperforms on the final exam after acing every practice test, the entrepreneur who sabotages their own business just as it begins to thrive. These are not stories of incompetence or laziness. They are stories of a deeper, more intimate fear. The fear of what happens when we become who we were meant to be. What if success changes us? What if we cannot handle the responsibility? What if we prove ourselves unworthy of the very thing we've worked so hard to achieve? This fear lives in the quiet spaces between our ambitions and our actions. It whispers that we are safer in the familiar territory of striving than in the unknown landscape of having arrived. And so we stand at the threshold of our own potential, hesitating to cross over into the person we might become. The psychology of success fear reveals a fundamental human paradox. We are simultaneously drawn to and repelled by our own potential. This is not about external obstacles or lack of opportunity. It is about the internal landscape where ambition and anxiety meet, where the desire for achievement collides with the comfort of familiarity. Psychologists call this phenomenon the success avoidance syndrome, a pattern where individuals unconsciously sabotage their own progress. It operates beneath conscious awareness, disguised as procrastination, perfectionism, or sudden loss of motivation. At its core lies imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling of being a fraud despite evidence of one's accomplishments. This psychological framework helps us understand why success can feel threatening. When we achieve something significant, we risk exposure. We fear that others will finally see what we've always suspected about ourselves, that we are not as capable as we appear. But there is another layer, drawn from self-determination theory. This theory suggests that human motivation thrives on three basic needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Success can threaten all three. Autonomy, the freedom to make our own choices, may feel compromised when success brings expectations and obligations. Competence, our sense of mastery, becomes a public performance rather than a private exploration. And relatedness, our connection to others, may shift as we outgrow familiar relationships and social circles. The fear of success is not irrational. It is the psyche's protective mechanism against the seismic shifts that achievement can bring. It is the quiet voice that asks, if I succeed, who will I become? And more importantly, who will I leave behind? To understand the fear of success, we must journey into the architecture of identity itself. Our sense of self is not fixed, but fluid, shaped by our experiences, relationships, and the stories we tell ourselves. Success threatens to rewrite these stories. Attachment theory offers a profound insight here. Our earliest relationships teach us what to expect from the world and from ourselves. If we grew up in environments where achievement was met with mixed messages, praise mixed with pressure, success followed by distance, we may develop an ambivalent relationship with accomplishment. Success becomes associated not with joy, but with loss. The loss of parental attention as we become more independent. The loss of peer acceptance as we stand out from the crowd. The loss of the familiar self we've known our entire lives. This creates what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. We move toward success while simultaneously pulling away. Cognitive dissonance theory deepens this understanding. When our actions, achieving success, conflict with our self-concept, I'm not worthy, I'm an imposter, we experience psychological discomfort. To resolve this discomfort, we may unconsciously sabotage our success to maintain consistency with our self-image. The familiar discomfort of struggle feels safer than the unfamiliar discomfort of accomplishment. This is why some people experience what's called the arrival fallacy, the disappointment that comes after achieving a long-sought goal. We imagine that success will transform us, heal our insecurities, solve our problems. But when we arrive, we discover that we've brought our same self with us. The same doubts, the same fears, the same internal landscape. This realization can be terrifying. It suggests that external achievement cannot fix internal brokenness. And so we retreat to the safety of striving, where hope remains intact because the destination remains unreached. The fear of success is ultimately the fear of confronting our own unchanged self in the mirror of achievement. It is the terror of discovering that the golden door we've been knocking on for years opens not to paradise, but to ourselves. There comes a moment in this exploration when intellectual understanding gives way to emotional recognition. When we stop analyzing the fear of success and start feeling its presence in our own lives. This is the turning point, the shift from observer to participant in our own psychological drama. Think of the opportunities you've let slip by, the projects you abandoned just before completion, the relationships you sabotaged when they became too good, the dreams you kept safely in the distance. In these moments, fear was not your enemy. It was your protector, trying to shield you from the vulnerability that comes with visibility, from the responsibility that accompanies achievement, from the loneliness that sometimes follows standing out. This realization brings not judgment, but compassion. Our fear of success is not a character flaw to be eliminated. It is a psychological response to be understood, a survival mechanism that once served us, even if it no longer does. When we approach this fear with curiosity rather than condemnation, something remarkable happens. The fear begins to soften, to lose its power over us. We start to see that the person we're afraid of becoming, the successful version of ourselves, is not a stranger. They are us, just more fully expressed, more authentically present, more courageously visible. The fear of success is ultimately the fear of our own magnificence, the terror of stepping into the light and being seen for who we truly are. And in this recognition, we find the beginning of freedom. Integration, not elimination, is the path forward. The fear of success cannot be conquered through force or willpower. It must be welcomed as part of our psychological landscape, acknowledged without being obeyed, heard without being followed. The goal is not to become fearless, but to become courageous enough to move forward despite the fear. To recognize that fear and excitement often feel the same in the body, the same racing heart, the same quickened breath, the same heightened awareness. The difference lies not in the sensation, but in the story we tell ourselves about it. When we reframe the fear of success as excitement about growth, something shifts. We begin to see achievement not as a threat to our identity, but as an expression of it. Not as something that will change who we are, but as something that reveals who we've always been. The successful version of yourself is not a different person. They are you, living more fully in your potential, speaking more clearly in your truth, loving more deeply in your relationships, creating more boldly in your work. The fear of success is the final frontier of self-acceptance.